So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Ethan. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for inviting me on. This is going to be a wonderful time to be internationally known.
So, Ethan, tell the listeners about you and what was your driving force in writing your book?
I'm a native of coastal Pennsylvania. Then in the middle of my eighth grade year, my mom decided to move to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was a very transitional point. And yeah, I know I talk about that in the autobiography. When it comes to that, I'll say it's COVID-19. I passed my spring semester of college at Mills University. I get invited over to this Greek family's house. And then as we're eating, having lunch at the table, one of them said I should write an autobiography. And another one says it, another one says it. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be that vulnerable, but they kept feeding me. And as this quote, I learned the key to a man's heart is to his stomach. And eventually I said yes. And that's what got me started with writing it independently. My autobiography is called The Inspirational Story, Ethan A. Poetic Chronicles of Adversities, Education, Sports, Relationships, and Resiliency. I have 8 4 words, 2-pack cover reviews, available on Amazon, Audible, Libro, Barnes& and Noble,
Mhm.
Walmart, you name it, it's there internationally and in the United States.
Okay, Ethan. So, Ethan, is it a poetic book or is it's well, what is it? Does it have poems
Uh,
in it as well? Oh,
there is poems in it in the farther chapters. That chapter is called My Path with Poetry. But
okay.
it's basically a autobiography of me growing up in a single parent household of 5, having a strange relationship with my father, and overcoming that dynamic because most people who grow up in that type of situation are not supposed to be successful. They're supposed to be a statistic. And then I also talk about my near-death experience along the way,
Mhm.
along with the path of recovery, rehab. And then I learned this quote, it gets worse before it gets better. And a lot of people thought things were getting better even after I made it out of the car accident and rehab and got home. But there's some things in my life that happened after all that made the situation worse before it became better.
Mhm. And could you tell us a little bit about what made the situation worse before it became better?
Uh, it involved one person getting caught up with the law.
Hmm.
It involves one person having me involved where I got summons to court for something I didn't do.
Hmm.
And it just became so dramatic where it was like I hit rock bottom and it was just a whole nother situation of I'm in a situation where I gotta choose where I want to be the victim or victor.
Hmm. So, Ethan, when did you start the transformation? Was it an early part of your life when you decide to start the transformation, or was it a later time in your life?
Which transformation are you talking about specifically?
You said that you grew up in a household without a father. You went through all those traumas. You said you were involved in an accident. So
Yeah.
what was the transformation
Uh,
that led you into writing your book? Exactly, specifically, what was it?
when I kind of growing up in a single parent household, specifically my situation was just my mom already had my older brother
Hmm.
almost a decade before I was born.
Okay.
And then eventually I'm born, but my dad's already with somebody else and already had a child with. Then he had, me and my sister are the same age, 2 months apart.
Hmm.
And I have an older, and they have I have an older brother, another older brother. And it just became a situation where this other guy came into the household.
Hmm.
I'm not sure specifically when, where he became a stepfather. Then my mom had 2 kids with him.
Hmm.
Then things didn't work out. Then it became a single parent household where it's like the dynamics are, geez, I hear people say in general that they don't need a man, but hearing my mom, depending on food stamps, WIC,
Hmm.
3 child support orders, and she was working full time, and sometimes things just weren't paid on time. And then there was another guy that came into our life, and that's when things, there was more food in the refrigerator and everything, but that guy had a lot of excess baggage with him with being on drugs, the alcoholism, and out of jail. And, people, sometimes I learned this other quote where love can cover a multitude of things.
Hmm.
In this situation, my mom was so in love with him that she kept welcoming him back in the house after a drug binge, an
Mm-hmm.
alcohol binge. And I grew up seeing that along with my other siblings, and that's not something I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yet here I am playing sports, seeing more positive men taking care of their family, but not being involved with the drugs, the alcohol scene. And I credit that to like my coaches for football, track, wrestling, and the gym teachers and such and such. And when it comes to a strange relation, my dad is just a situation where when you have a child with somebody you weren't planning on being with, but all at the same time you're already with somebody else, that creates a dynamic of, for me, it took some soul searching of looking for answers. Even though I didn't get them from him, it's like, well, the best way I can explain it is just, I can imagine maybe there's one day my mom and dad have a talk. And when a woman tells a man, hey, I'm having your child, and for somebody to, potentially say, I'm just hypothetically speaking, that I can't be with you, that's a crushing blow. But I don't know the whole answers. What I do know is that inside a laundromat, there's my grandma and my dad's sister in there, and my dad just so happens to be there. And I talk about this in my autobiography, which I know for a fact. My grandma told him, "You have a son that was recently born or is on the way, and his name's Ethan. You need to go see him." And one of the first words he did was just deny me. When I finally heard that truth, it was like, oh, no wonder he's acting the way he was acting. But then along the way, I also found out my aunt, who was in that laundromat, decided to go see my mom and see me. And, this is during a time where, there may have been DNA testing, there may not have been. What ended up happening was she ended up checking out my feet, my hands, my eyes, my ears, and my back because she's older than my dad, and she remembers checking out his body parts when he was a child, and she said, "This is my brother's son." Similarities. And once my aunt told my dad, he decided to check out for himself, and well, there goes the doubts.
Okay.
There goes the doubts.
So the transformation, for you, your transformation and all what you went through, all of what you told me about, that led to your transformation because you didn't want to be like your dad. You want to be better and you didn't want to be like what statistics said. You wanted to be above that. So that was all of this led to your transformation.
Yes, because if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll
Mm-hmm.
keep getting what you're getting. And it's just a situation where I don't want that to be part of my legacy or be part of my dash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at other situations where, there's positive men in my life, so there's really no excuse not to do better. And then I'm also looking at the fact that, there's other men more invested in my life than he is. But I also realize, he ended up facing some dynamics, which is where him and my mom just weren't sometimes getting along. And when they have like these fallouts, it's easy to point the finger at somebody not being there who doesn't have custody, while somebody does have custody. But ultimately, we did have our talk, but it wasn't on, the best of terms. But moving forward to the near death car accident, it's just I'm facing a 99% chance of death versus 1% chance of life. And I don't, it's like when this car accident happened, it's like I'm there, but I don't remember anything. For me, it was a lot of soul searching of looking on the internet of, wow, this actually happened. Here's this newspaper article. Here's the television stations covering this. Here's the radio stations covering this. Here's my Facebook wall with all these people saying they're praying for me. And the accident happened in Paradise, Pennsylvania, and the hospital's already 30 to 35 minutes away. And can you imagine the fire department coming there, cutting the car in half with the jaws of life? Can you imagine the EMTs or ambulance people coming there where they put two fingers on my neck to see if there's a pulse or at least blood flow as they put on a neck brace, put me on a stretcher?
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine the police department stopping traffic and putting up the yellow tape as they take pictures and investigate the crime scene? And then can you imagine me being on over 30 prayer lists as, my life is a mathematical equation?
So Ethan, what is your mission right now?
My mission, since I graduated college and started my own business is continue to do the speaking engagements, whether it's corporate, panel discussions, conferences, public schools, private schools, diocese schools, or special events where I can tell people the full story of how you can turn your adversities into your advantage, how you can become a victim turned victor, how you can put away the excuses and turn it into motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have a choice and we're all going through something. Whether it's emotional pain, psychological pain, physical pain, health pain. But with all those pains comes the opposition of solutions. There's doctors, there's therapists, counselors, mentors, life coaches, talk therapy. There's also other type of therapy where it's listening therapy. Then there's also people who can get help with the braille. But ultimately, you get to see and experience me in a situation where you get to see he overcame all that. Only thing I had to change is a near death. All I have to change is my mindset
Mm-hmm.
because your health is your wealth is your health. We all have the decision to wake up every day and make an impact, one life at a time or a group of people at a time. And that's what I would like to continue to do as a keynote speaker, self-published author, mental health advocate, two-time college graduate, mentor. But I always have to tell people from the beginning that I value my services, I value my time, I value my products. I'm a LLC business,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to take it one day at a time and continue to thrive because this is my third year into business, and the best is yet to come.
Okay. So, Ethan, how can the listeners get in contact with you and where can they get a copy of your book? And you do said that you do offer services like speaking engagements and stuff like that. So tell us
Yes,
a little bit
yes.
about that. Where can they
They can
contact
find me on Instagram,
you?
TikTok, Snapchat. My username is Ethan Poetic 23.
Hmm.
Then on Facebook, LinkedIn, and my YouTube channel, I am Ethan Poetic. On
Hmm.
Twitter, I am Ethan V23. My book, you can buy it directly through me. You would just have to trust me with your mailing address or PO box, and you pay me through Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. My website is called ethanspeaks.com. That's where people fill out the intake form for speaking engagements, or just email me for a copy of my book. It'll be signed, autographed, and I'll take a picture of the tracking number. But my
Okay.
book is also available on Amazon, Kobo,
Hmm.
Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Target. Those are like print demand platforms,
Okay.
whether it's be hardcover, softcover, ebook. The audio version is available through iTunes. Let's
Okay.
see, Audible,
So all
Amazon.
the different platforms
Yes,
the books are sold. Okay.
yes. And you can listen to my book. You can read it physical copy or the electronic copy. And I'm proud to be an independent self-published author.
Nice.
I thank all the people in the background, whether it's the book cover designer, the editor, the
Hmm.
person who helped me get that professional picture, and I own everything outright.
So, Ethan, do you have any last words for the listeners about not giving up on their dreams because you didn't give up on your dreams? So, what do you have to say to the listeners about keep going?
Well, what I could tell you is that in the game of life, there's gonna be some ups and downs, and nothing is easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. When you look at certain situations in life, what you're going through, you have to remember that these things have already been overcame, whether it's overcoming the divorce, a miscarriage, a mental health scare, a medical scare. There's also, relationships where things end. But you can also be on the opposite end of going from a person who had cancer to a cancer survivor, and now you're on a mission to live your best life moving forward. Or you can save your marriage and do what it takes to do the work on an individual level and then come back together as a whole. Then there's also coming back from a mental health scare where somebody may have said something to you that was hurtful or discouraging. Like, for example, for me, while I was in my recovery phase, my dad told his wife to tell me he's not going to help me get my life back together. I could have been the kid or the teenager that felt sorry for myself and just wallow in my sorrow. But instead, I turned it into motivation where I got my driver's license. Posted on Facebook, had over 200 likes. Got my first car as a 95 Ford Taurus. Then eventually I got a brand new car, 2016 Honda Civic, red, right out the showroom. And then I'm back in Coastal where I got my picture taken in front of that Welcome to Coastal sign. And as I'm going past the crosswalk to my car, I hear someone calling for me. And it's my dad. And he sees me with a brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't believe it. He can't take credit for it. And that's why they say success is the best revenge.
Yep. It is.
So so the point is this: if someone's trying to discourage you or put you down, let them be in that position. Eventually they're gonna see you succeed and thrive. Because now when they say those certain things, they have to eat that stuff for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and sometimes a midnight snack because they can't take credit for your success because they weren't there to applaud you or help you through the process.
Mhm.
Uh, but moving forward, that's just one example of turning your adversities into your advantage. But other than that, my website is ethanspeaks.com. Appreciate the support. The best is yet to come because I haven't become a father, a husband, or a homeowner yet.
And
And
and you will.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Well, Ethan, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.